Hello students, welcome to today's lesson presentation in mathematics on factorization with a specific focus on factorizing quadratic trinomials. That means a quadratic expression with three terms as indicated in worked examples, with the question that reads factorize question 1, x squared plus 7x plus 10. So when we have such an expression, it is termed as a trinomial. That means it has three terms, that is the x squared, the 7x, and the 10. Now the question is, how do we factorize such quadratic expressions? So here we use the concept of the product and the sum. Like for question number 1, the coefficient of x squared is 1, and that coefficient 1 is multiplied by the constant 10. So the product of two numbers that gives us 10, and the sum is the coefficient of x, which is 7. So we ask ourselves, which two numbers, when multiplied, give 10, and when added they give a 7. So such numbers are 2 and 5. So if you take 2 plus 5, you get 7, which is the coefficient of x. And if you take 2 times 5 is 10, which is the product of the coefficient of x squared and the constant c, in this case is 10. So for us to be able to factorize such an expression, we have gotten the numbers as 2 and 5. So we write x plus 2 into x plus 5. We are just using the numbers that we have just gotten. I repeat, for us to factorize x squared plus 7x plus 10, we need to identify two numbers whose product is 10. And I've said that for us to get that product of 10, we take the coefficient of x squared, which is 1 in this case, and the constant number in the expression in this case is 10. So 1 times 10 is 10. So two numbers that gives us a product of 10 and a sum 7, and 7 is the coefficient of x. And those two numbers are 2 and 5. So for us to express, to factorize the expression, then we take x, which is the variable, plus one of the numbers, which is 2, into the variable x plus the second number 5. So x plus 2 into x plus 5 becomes the factorized format for that expression. Question 2, m squared minus 6m plus 8. So the coefficient of m squared is 1. Then we multiply by the constant c, which is 8. So product is 8 and the sum is negative 6. And negative 6 is the coefficient of m. So two numbers whose product is 8 and whose sum is negative 6. Those two numbers, when you try to identify them, you'll be able to find that they are negative 2 and negative 4. So negative 2 plus negative 4 gives us negative 6, that is the sum. And negative 2 times negative 4 gives us 8, which is the product. So the factorized format, we just use the numbers that we have identified. So it's going to be m, which is the variable, minus 2 into m minus 4. If you expand it, that expression will take us back to m squared minus 6m plus 8. Then example 3, y squared plus y minus 12. Now, in this case, the product is going to be negative 12. That is the coefficient of y squared, which is 1 times the constant value, which is negative 12. So product is negative 12 and the sum is 1. Coefficient of y is 1. So which two numbers, when you multiply, you get 12, and when you add, you get 1. It's negative 3 and 4. So negative 3 plus 4 is 1, and negative 3 times 4 is negative 12. So the factorized format of the expression is going to be y, which is the variable, minus 3, the identified number, into y plus 4, the second identified number. Then question 4, we factorize x squared minus 9x minus 36. So product, coefficient of x squared is 1, multiplied by the constant value in the expression, which is negative 6. So the product is negative 36. And the sum, which is the coefficient of x, is negative 9. So two numbers whose product is negative 36 and whose sum is 9. So these numbers are 3 and negative 12. So 3 plus negative 12 gives us negative 9. And 3 times negative 12 gives us negative 36. So the factorized format is going to be the variable x plus the number identified 3 into the variable x minus the identified, or plus the identified number negative 12. So the expression is going to be x plus 3 into x minus 12. Then finally, example number 5, 3y squared plus 15y minus 72. Now, for us to be able to factorize this expression, we need to factorize first a constant factor. In this case is 3. So we factorize 3 first, then we remain with an expression y squared plus 5y minus 24. Then the expression in the bracket, we get the product, which is the coefficient of y squared and the constant value c. So the product is going to be negative 24, and the sum, which is the coefficient of y, which is 5. So two numbers whose product is negative 24 and whose sum is 5. These numbers are negative 3 and 8. So negative 3 plus 8 gives us 5, and negative 3 times 8 gives us negative 24. So the final factorized format of the expression is going to be the 3 that we factorized out into the variable y minus the number that we have identified, negative 3, that's y minus 3, into y plus 8. I repeat, the factorized number 3 into the variable y minus the 3, that is the negative 3 is the number that we have just identified, into y plus the second number identified as 8. So 3 into y minus 3 into y plus 3 becomes the factorized format of the expression for question number 5. So what follows is the exercise for you to attempt. The question 1 reads, factorize each of these trinomials. So work through from 1a up to 1x. Then question 2, factorize from 2a all the way to 2x. And lastly, question 3, in that exercise 7.04, 3a all the way to 3j. If you encounter any challenge, kindly come into the comment section under this platform for comscienceclasses.net, and I will be able to come to your aid so that you are assisted to understand the concept